All right. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's Monday.
Yes, it is.
Today is a continuation instructions for proper worship. It is 1 Corinthians chapter 11, starting at verse 7. Wait for the shaking here to stop. Okay. A man should not wear anything on his head when worshiping, for man is made in God's image and reflects God's glory, and woman reflects man's glory. For the first man didn't come from woman, but the first woman came from man. And man was not made for woman, but woman was made for man. For this reason, and because the angels are watching, a woman should wear a covering on her head to show she is under authority. But among the Lord's people, women are not independent of men, and men are not independent of women. For although the first woman came from man, every other man was born from a woman, and everything comes from God. Judge for yourselves. Is it right for a woman to pray to God in public without covering her head? Isn't it obvious that it is disgraceful for a man to have long hair? And isn't long hair a woman's pride and joy? For it has given to her as a covering. But if anyone wants to argue about this, I simply say that we have no other custom than this, and neither do God's other churches. Now the commentary. God created lines of authority in order for his created world to function smoothly. Although there must be lines of authority even in marriage, there should not be lines of superiority. God created men and women with unique and complementary characteristics. One sex is not better than the other. We must not let the issue of authority and submission become a wedge to destroy oneness in marriage. Instead, we should use our unique gifts to strengthen our marriages and to glorify God. In talking about head covering and length of hair, Paul is saying that believers should look and behave in ways that are honorable in their own culture. In many cultures, long hair on men is considered appropriate and masculine. In Corinth, it was thought to be a sign of male prostitution in the pagan temples, and women with short hair were labeled prostitutes. Paul was saying that in the Corinthian culture, Christian women should keep their hair long. If short hair on women was a sign of prostitution, then a Christian woman with short hair would find it difficult to be a believable witness for Jesus Christ. Paul wasn't saying we should adopt all the practices of our culture, but that we should avoid appearances and behavior that detract from our ultimate goal of being witnesses for Christ.
They look at hair as we in the modern day Western society would probably look at clothing.
Yeah.
You know, the more modest clothing, people lean more toward, well, they're a follower of Jesus.
Yeah.
The more revealing clothing, people lean more toward, well, they're promiscuous.
Yeah.
And that goes for male or female.
True.
And that doesn't have anything to do with what sex you are. That is just a generality.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a hard and fast that, men should keep short hair, but it does, even in our culture today, men with really long feminine looking hair, and that's what I mean, feminine looking hair, we still don't have quite of a grip on it, like.
Well, our society has turned it into a sexuality thing that is not only approved of, but encouraged.
Yeah.
That's a whole other video, but we do need to make sure that our actions, our appearance, and things aren't stumbling blocks. I think that's the main thing that he's getting to in this scripture.
Yeah, and it is. We don't want to have people look at us sideways and go, really, that's the way you look or you act or you talk or everything, and you want to tell me you're a follower of Christ, but yet this is the way you present yourselves?
Yeah, and I'm just thinking of our modern day things, which I haven't seen so much of it lately in our town, but a few years ago, the guys with the pants down at their knees and their underwear hanging out comes to mind.
Yeah.
Whereas in a female, it would be like the yoga pants or a top with a lot of chest showing
Mhm.
or midsection showing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's coming to mind. That's not every situation, but that's what's coming to mind.
Yeah.
I'm just using my own personal example. I have a medical condition to where I can't have things up around my neck.
Yeah.
Which creates in me a V-neck, lower cut blouse area.
Yeah.
That can be an issue for some people. In some places I go, I have to really think about what can I physically wear that's not going to offend the people I'm going to see,
Yeah.
but also not choke the fire out of me
Yeah.
with the issue, you know. So
Yeah.
it is not every case, but in some cases you have to really kind of view through the lens of your audience.
I think the point of this is, again, Paul said it in the beginning, to consider others first.
Right.
So just because you have the right to wear whatever you want and want to wear whatever you want,
Right.
you
Doesn't
may
mean
want
you
to
should.
check on those things a little bit to how, and ask yourself, how am I presenting myself? Just
Right.
because I want to look this way, or I have the right to look this way, does not mean that you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you want to just think about, well, how are, I want to be a good witness for Christ, but if I go out looking any certain way, is that going to be a good witness?
Right.
You know, it's, if you're going to go out and be looking like a goth, with extreme goth look, even though, I like looking like that, you may want to check yourself a little bit and say, well,
Other people probably perceive it.
Perceive it a little bit wrong. Not to say that we all have to walk around and,
Right.
Looking like Amish every day.
Right.
Now that's the other extreme.
Right.
We just have to check our surroundings for the people that we want to reach.
Mm-hmm.
We want to reach them where they are, but we don't necessarily have to be what they are.
True, and that's the key thing.
Yeah.
We want to reach them, but not be them.
Yeah. Okay. Hope everybody has a glorious day, and we'll talk to you later.